Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Business and Beyond's Feature Friday. Today's guest is John Puritz, who has been a friend of mine for a very long time. He is a business owner, speaker, coach, and host of the Man Up Already podcast, where he challenges men to lead with integrity, faith, and purpose. And with over 2 decades of experience in teaching, leadership development, and financial services, John educates, equips, and empowers men to grow stronger in every area of life, including faith, family, finances, fitness, career, friendships, and fun. So he is passionate about helping others discover their created purpose and live with confidence and clarity. So I am very excited to have him as our guest today. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So can you tell me a little bit about what your business does and why you got into it?
Yeah, so you had mentioned that I've been in financial services for over 20 years. And that's obviously, a love. I love helping people. I was a middle school, high school teacher for 10 years at a college up in Connecticut, and now I'm here in Florida. So I've been working with people, in life basically for a long, long time. And I love teaching. I love educating people, equipping people, like you said. And financial services, has been a great business, and you really do steward people. But it's interesting because it's 10 years ago now that in my financial business, I did a lot of recruiting, training, and developing, and I was working with people either my age or typically younger. And I started to notice a shift around 2015 in millennial men because they were, young 30s at the time. I was in my mid 40s. And the things that I kind of was brought up on, I'm Gen X, I joke, Gen X drank from the fire, from the hose, I'd be home before dark, a lot of responsibility. You didn't worry about half the things. But that resilience was kind of bred into me as a kid, get off your butt, keep moving. And I started to see this shift where that wasn't happening, that men were kind of checking out more than checking in. I always say, and this is great for your podcast, that in the business owner entrepreneurial journey, there comes that moment where everything you are, everything all of that is going to hit the ceiling, and who you are to become and what you need to know is like that next level, and your business will not survive if you don't push through that moment. And that moment is very challenging, right? Because everything you are and everything is now called into question, and you really go, oh, I don't know enough. I don't have that confidence. And you've got to learn new things, and you got to get humble. And when men would hit that moment, they would shrink. Majority, not all of them, but the majority would shrink, and I would watch women go into a second gear. And it's interesting to watch 10 years later how that's played out in society, because that shift is now cultural, right? I think men are misunderstood. I don't think they're listened to. I think what you see on the surface is not what's going on underneath. And there's conversations that need to be happening, and all of that. And that became the platform for I've got to do something about this. And, we were talking earlier, I don't have my kids are adults. Life has changed for me considerably. And I have the bandwidth now to say, all right, this mission I've been playing around with it for 7 years. Now it's time to really step in and really take on this mission.
And I commend you for that, because as we were talking earlier, I think that men do not get the attention that they deserve, because it's been a patriarchal society for so long, and men have to be a certain way and fit a certain box, right? And so they're not being given the opportunity to be themselves, or even to explore who they are, to begin with, other than, oh, this is what's expected of me. This is how
Right.
I'm expected to be and act. And so I love the fact that you're bringing a lot more nurture into the masculine world of even nurturing yourself.
Well, that's the first place it starts, right? Like, how are you going to be good with others if you're not good with yourself? You
And
know, it's kind of been the core crux of, and again, in the business owner entrepreneurial journey, that's got to be tackled, right? Because if you keep playing somebody else, you're not authentic, and that inauthenticity gets sniffed out very quickly.
yes, because people can tell there's something off, right? They might not know what it is, but there's
Right.
something
But
off,
they
which,
feel you. Sure.
yes, it automatically takes away that trust because there's that feeling of something. So now you got into your second business, which is the podcast, because of this shift that you've seen. And um, what is the biggest problem that you see in that industry? I know you've touched a little bit on it, or in, the male entrepreneurial realm.
Well, I think as I go through this journey, and I'm on the initial stages of it, so it's interesting. But I think, when I started, right? So in 2018, I wrote the book Man Up Already. Um, and that led to people were telling me for a while, you need a radio show, you need to speak because you have a way of communication and you need to be doing something. And I just couldn't see it and wrap my head around it. And this is a key kind of piece in helping people in their entrepreneurial business owner journey. And I can't share me and my story without just sharing faith because it is who I am. I think God definitely puts people in your path when you're ready for them to give you a thought, to give you an idea, to give you inspiration that takes you to the next step. And I couldn't see what people like. I just couldn't see a radio show. Like, how do you do that, right? Like, because my brain just couldn't comprehend it. And podcasting was still in 2019, not what it is today, right? It was still kind of finding itself, and COVID changed the game on a lot of things. But a buddy of mine in 2019 was like, "You should do a podcast." And I was like, I don't really know." And he said, "Well, check out Anchor." And Anchor, and this is good for you with your podcast, he goes, it's an app. You just talk into the app and they kind of do all the work, which is true and not true. But I was like, okay, that's cool. And so I found Anchor, and Anchor then became, I would record the audio video, I would send the audio to Anchor, and Anchor was the one who distributed it out to Apple and Google at the time. And that's how I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that, right? And all of this crazy journey for me started literally from a fitness challenge, believe it or not. And this is why I talk about faith, family, finances, fitness, because it's all a wheel and they all really do interconnect. I was doing this crazy fitness challenge and I had to ride a bike every night. And somewhere in this journey of 75 days, I was like, I'm just going to go live. And the next thing, so I'm live on Facebook, and now people are chiming in, and that's what led to, like, I went to get coffee one day and somebody said, I saw you, this morning on your bike. I'm like, you're watching that, like, and that became okay, I have a voice, I can do this. Then I found Anchor and I was doing that for a while, and things kind of developed, and then it kind of emerged, and I found that voice. I mean, the Man Up Already podcast is at 102 episodes, and I took a little bit of a hiatus for personal reasons, but now I've got a bunch in the can, and we'll launch it again. But now the next level of that is speaking, personal coaching. I'm writing my second book right now, which I'm excited about. So okay, what's the next level gonna be? And I think you asked the question, what's the thing kind of holding you back, or maybe what's the challenge, right? Like, And I think that's always in yourself. Like, what do I need to learn? What do I need to experience so that I can get the vision for what comes next? And I really do believe God gives you those things at the right time. And I'll just kind of end that question with this. And I've really have there's a couple things that I really pay attention to and have through my journey. And I heard it one time. It's called the basically the corridor theory. And the corridor theory is if you think about like a hotel room or a hotel, and you're standing in the corridor and you look down that hallway, you don't see all the doors. Even though all the doors are there, our perspective only sees the doors that are a couple of feet from us. And as you walk down the corridor, the doors start to manifest into our vision. And that's kind of the journey, is that as you continue to move forward, those doors pop up that you could never see when you were way back there.
That you have, given us a few great business entrepreneurial nuggets in this story that you just said. The first thing, which is the last thing you said that I want to kind of drive home, is you cannot see beyond the next couple of steps that you're going to take, right? And that's okay. It's not a matter of seeing the full journey and where you're going to end up. It's a matter of having a goal and taking those few steps to get to it and seeing what else opens up and where those steps take you, right?
Right.
It's the same thing as, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? How do you do anything? One step at a time. And it's just taking that one step and just doing it that's going to allow you to gain the confidence, see a bigger vision, gain more clarity, right? And that's when you said you were doing the challenge. The other thing was, you just went live and you found Anchor and you listened to other people and you had the courage to listen to what was coming to you and to take
Mm-hmm.
advantage of the opportunities that were manifesting in front of you, right? And that's through faith. So
Yeah. Can I add to that?
yes, please.
I'm a musician and I'm a drummer, and I've been playing drums since I was 10, so for a long, long time. And in the initial stages of that maturation as a musician, you're listening, right? And you don't know a lot, so you're just constantly listening. You're playing. You're trying to mimic certain people, and so you're getting all of this data, I call it, and you're soaking it in, and you're trying. And then what comes out of that, and this is where I learned this, is somewhere in my 20s, I started to understand who I was and who I was not. And my style, I mean, there are three distinct personalities in my drumming style. And if I point them out to people, they go, oh my gosh, yes, I can hear that. But people will say, when you play, I know it's you. And because I have my own unique now style. And that really is what happens is you're just collecting data, and you're trying things, and this works and this doesn't work. And what comes out of that process is really who you are in this thing called business or life or whatever. What's your voice? And that's the thing that you start to get and you hone and get very comfortable with. And we were talking about the process. I think I had a coach a while back used to say to me, enjoy the process, even when the process isn't all that enjoyable, right? And I would be like, I hate the process, right? I just want to get to the goal, right? And I've learned a couple of things in that. Number one is, what I didn't like about the process was how I was doing things. And so I was doing things in a business that were not really me. It's what everybody around me was doing and what the system kind of said, right? It's kind of like, if you're a business owner or you're in the entrepreneur, like, I don't make cold calls. I hate cold calls. I don't like talking to strangers. And I had to build a business in a town where nobody knew me, right? And so I would do all those uncomfortable things and hate it. And if I've learned anything in this journey is life is too short to do things that you don't like or are not you. So I like how I feel physically. I like working out. I just have to find the gym and have that caters to how I like to work out. Some people like to go to LA Fitness and they don't like, leave me alone. I'm going to work out on the machines. I hate that. I had to find a group, right, where I walk in and they beat the crap out of me for an hour and I leave and I don't think and I do it with other people. That's how I like to work out. So I'm sore and I don't like getting out of bed, but I love the process because I found a way to do the process the way that caters to me. And we don't talk about that a lot. Like we're doing so many things that you go, "Oh my gosh, this sucks. Life's too short for it to suck." There may be some bad moments, but if you can't and just if you're not present, if you're not able to be where the doors are, right? That tomorrow is another step, but today I'm going to wake up and enjoy the process. Some days are good, some days are bad, but I still love what I'm doing and I'm keep making that step forward. So
That oh, I love this so much because I absolutely cannot stand all this stuff you hear on the internet and all of these business gurus that say, no, you have to get comfortable with cold calling. You have to get comfortable with this. You have to do this or that. And you have to stop procrastinating and you have to get over your imposter syndrome. And you have to. And it's like, no, why do I have to be someone else? Why do I have to learn things that I absolutely hate and actually do them to be successful? You don't. And I love that you brought that up. It's find the things that align with who you are and what you love. Because once you get to that goal, it's almost inevitably, okay, so what's next?
that's exactly right.
Right? It's very fleeting.
Always.
It is always, so what's next? So you have to enjoy that journey. And part of enjoying that journey, like you said, is finding yourself, trying things out, and not making yourself do the things that you hate, but understanding that, okay, these are things that I hate to do. Let me try to find a different way that might work for me. Let me try to find a different gym that will cater to the way I like to work out, right? Let me find a different way of generating business, generating clients, whatever it is that works for me rather than me having to cold call if I don't like that. Now, if you like cold calling, then by all means, go for it, right? That's so I love that you're bringing this to our attention because most people do not get the luxury of hearing other people saying that, right? And so do you contribute, how much of your success do you contribute to you trying on these different skills, let's say, and then finding your own and doing it your way?
There's so much of that in there. You have to, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? You just don't. And there was a book I think or a saying, right? Like eat the frog, right? Like eat the frog, right? First thing in the morning, eat the frog. Well, I don't like frogs. So even just that idea, I'm not gonna I don't like frogs. I'm definitely not eating one. Like I just like those things. I love what you said, right? That typically when you hit a goal, the first reaction is, okay, great, but what's next? And the point is the person who set the goal is not the same person who hits it,
Yes.
right? Your maturity by the time you hit the goal is now already thinking bigger. And so if the goal is the goal, it's going to be lackluster every single time because it really is, like, and I was just, while you were speaking, you can't microwave match maturity. right? It's the process, and the process is actually the thing that matters. So I better enjoy at least some part of it. You know what I mean? To try on those things, and don't be afraid to experiment. But to answer that from a bigger level, I learned this in 2007, when I was getting my first office, and I shared with you earlier. Um, but I would hear in the first 3 years, so in my financial business, I started in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I was brand new to that city, brand new to Florida, and brand new to my industry.
Wow.
And for 10 months, I got all of my licenses, worked construction. So I would get up at like 5 in the morning, be on a construction site at 7, get off at 4, come home, nap, shower, eat, and then go build my business at night, sitting with clients. And I did that for 10 months. And then I went full time on a part time contract. And I just ran, and in 3 years built an agency. And the leader of that whole thing used to say the first 18 months turns to crap. And people don't like to hear that, but it's true. The first 18 months, you're just learning, you're trying, this didn't work, you're failing. So it's 2007, and I'm thinking about taking on this office, and God's like, go pray to me in the office. So I go to the office, I open up my Bible randomly, and this was the scripture. It's a crazy story. It's Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah 37:30. It says, so the story is Hezekiah is the king of Israel, and he's about to be sacked by the Assyrian army. And so he prays, and Isaiah shows up and says, here's the word of God. He says, this is a sign to you. You shall eat this year such as grows of itself, and the second year what springs from the same. But in the third year, sow and reap, plant vineyards, and eat the fruit of them. And I can tell you that the universe is constructed in cycles of 3. P90X was 90 days. You know about a person, if you're dating, 90 days, you're going to know enough to say, should we continue? Should we not? Any organization, church, any organization, it takes 3 years to build a culture. And if you shortchange that process, you could kill the organization, the team. It's why in the NFL, when they're firing coaches right after a first year or 2 years, it's like, no, 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 no. You're shortchanging the process. It takes time for those roots to build. And something about that moment said, it's 3 years. And the Message version of the Bible says, in the second year, you will beg, borrow, and steal. Meaning, you will do whatever you need to do to survive. And I think in the business owner entrepreneurial journey, you've got, it's kind of like going to college. Nobody starts college and goes, you know what, if I don't get that degree in year 2, I'm out. You kind of go, no, it's 4 years to get the paper. You know what I mean? And if you're going to go for your master's, it's 6. So why aren't we approaching business ownership from the same way? Like, our mindset when we start is this has to work, or we put ourselves in a position where we're financially not going to survive. And it's 3 freaking years of crap, of learning and growing and failing. And second year, things start to move a little bit, but that third year, you start to plant those vineyards. And if you keep going, you will eat from. I've seen that. I've done it multiple times. It is 100% true. And we can't shortchange that process with AI and all that other stuff, because it all comes back to you as a human being still fundamentally grow at a certain rate.
That is so profound. That is so profound. I think, your first year is always just pure enthusiasm,
Yep.
right? You're just driven, you're excited, it's new. The second year is the tough one, because you're like,
Brutal.
spent all this time and money and sweat, blood, and tears, and I'm still not reaping the rewards. What am I doing wrong? Should I just give up? And that's where you have to beg, borrow, and steal that motivation, right? From
Right.
yourself, from other people, just to continue going. And by the third year is when you start understanding those fundamentals of being able to see what are the things that are working for me, who am I, what's aligning with how I'm doing. And yeah, you can't shortchange that.
Mm-mm.
Unfortunately, some people take a lot longer than 3 years because they're not listening to themselves,
Correct.
right? They keep listening to all these other people about what needs to be done and how they've done it, and they try to emulate it when it doesn't align with them.
And that point that you just made, like you get certainly as you get older, right? Like, what question, if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give? And the answer is listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. You know, don't just, you know what I mean? We spend, well, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. No, no, no. Because I don't know if you ever, Mel Robbins has a book, 5 Second Rule. And in that, my version of that is, God speaks to you and the enemy takes over at second 6.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
He speaks to you through your gut.
And that's the thing, whether you believe in God, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, whatever your religion or non-religion is, you have we have been made with this innate ability, right? To know, to feel what is right for us.
Right.
Right. I believe, like you, that God made us in his image, right? Which is why that gut feeling is God speaking to us. However, if you want to call it the universe, if you want to call it your higher self, if you want to call it just your intuition, whatever it is, it's true because it's not coming from a place of fear. It's coming
Right.
from a place of knowing, right? We're all interconnected. Everything is energy. And so I really do believe we have that ability. That's how all this manifestation, is growing, and let's manifest this and manifest that. And at the end of the day, it's listening to your gut and having the faith, right? That 5 seconds in your gut is known, and that when you start understanding, is this coming out of fear, or is it coming out of love, right? Is it coming out of a place of, yes, this is something that I want to do, yes, this aligns, or is it coming out of, oh my God, I have to do this so I don't fail,
Right.
right? And that's where that comes in. And most people fail in business because they're acting out of that place of fear rather than listening to their own gut. So thank you so much for bringing all this up. And I love that you saw the sign and you followed it and you understood it, which has helped you flourish, right? And you're now helping other people flourish. So we've talked a lot about what has worked for you in becoming successful. So one of the other things is all business owners go through obstacles, right? And we've discussed some, especially the second year, but
Yeah.
they're ongoing obstacles. That's just business. That's just entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about maybe an obstacle or a couple of obstacles that you've gone through and how you've overcome them to continue your success and to continue, because you've built, you have 2 businesses at the moment?
Well, one's just starting, but I've had various iterations of my financial business. In 2022, I left the company after 18 years and
Wow.
started an independent, company. So, and that first year was the same thing. And so if that was 2022 and it's 2025, I mean, everything I said is true. It's that business now runs in a very different way and is solid. but the first year and a half was tough. So, some obstacles. Well, the first one was 2008. I just went vice president in 2007, which means I could open up my own firm. Took on an office, right? And we were cranking. And then in '08, in the summer of '08, I lost my father. I was 38. I lost my dad. And then the crash happened. So it's kind of hard to help people in financial services when the market and the economy tanks. And it literally, I mean, I was at the time doing a bunch of different things, and I remember a guy going, "Well, you're going to have to get really good in this area." And that was the one area that I was not a big fan of in my business. Um, so that was an interesting time because it like a lot of people, I lost a lot and had to relocate, had to start completely over.
Wow.
Like had to move to another city and start all over, maintaining the clients that I had already built. But okay, so here's a couple of things. Number one, hanging on to the past is just going to frustrate you. And we go through that process. We can't, but it used to be, or the relationship was this, or the business was that. It's over. And the faster you can accept that, the faster you can start moving on that down the corridor, right? It's kind of like the visual. If we keep saying, it's kind of like the door, you walked into the corridor and the door that you left is now locked. And we just keep you know what I mean? Trying to open that door. No, it's closed. You got to keep moving. You got to move forward. So that was the first thing. I will say this. It is a key to any and every business that I have built, will build, whatever, because who knows what the future holds. But I can tell you this, and I firmly believe this. You could drop me in any city in America, and I'll build a business because the fundamentals never change. I always say business and success are built on the same chassis. It's all the same fundamentals. It's just what you put on top of it. And the number one fundamental, and it's the more technology takes off, the more those that build this fundamental shine. And that is relationships. If you build relationships of integrity, character, right? You reap what you sow. You love people. You're kind. You do what you say you're going to do, right? In Man Up Already, I wrote about the 4 pillars, which is integrity, humility, authenticity, and morality. And if you run your life on those and your business, you build relationships with people. I mean, how long have you and I been connected? It's probably 5 years. It was right at the beginning of COVID.
Well, I remember when you were doing the lives on your bike. So we had connected even before that.
Yeah. And we've never met in person, right? But we touch each other, right? Hey, happy birthday. Hope all is well, right? You're just building relationships, and those matter. And like somebody hit me up on LinkedIn, and I could tell it was automation, right? And I'm like, take me off your automated list. How about instead of trying to automate all that stuff, you actually send a message that uses a person's name, not the way the computer shows it, right? You say something that clearly is not AI, or handwritten notes, which I do. Like those fundamentals matter. So in any obstacle, I always just go back to basics. There's a book out there, I forget who wrote it, but it's called Never Eat Alone. And I subscribe to that. Hey, let's meet for coffee. Hey, let's do a Zoom coffee. Hey, let's have lunch. And just build relationships with people, because yes, business ebbs and flows. There's going to be times where it's slow, and there's going to be times that it's great. But if you keep those fundamentals the same, that chassis, you're going to get through any period, high, low, right? But again, you have to do that over that period of time where there's absolutely no reward. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. And I'm in a moment personally that's great adversity, right? And I just got back to, John, do the things that are fundamentally sound and are who you are. Some people don't like to sit with people and have a conversation. I love it. It's why I'm a podcaster, right? Like I love just talking and meeting and share your story. And that was the thing that I built every business on. Everyone. And whatever obstacle showed up, marketing, right? AI, I'd say I know enough to hurt myself, right? But the more I understand it can be faster, and yes, I'll use those tools, but human beings, right? Everybody has a flashing sign on them that says, make me feel special. And the more you pay attention to that and bring humanity into the things that you do, you'll get through those periods. It's not fun, but it is true.
It is. It's really funny because of all of the podcasts that I have recorded, all of the successful business people that I've spoken to, it really always boils down to building those relationships, right? And one thing I've always said is it's not business is business and pleasure is pleasure, right? Business is personal because businesses are built by people.
Right.
So it's always going to be personal. And if we keep that in mind and we understand we're working with people, we are working, the employees are people, the customers are people, that everything is built on those relationships. And the better relationships you have, like you said, the better resilience your business is going to have no matter where you are in it. If nothing else, for the emotional support, right? If nothing else,
Right.
for people around you saying, hey, it's okay, you can do it, keep going, right? And sometimes that's all it takes for you to be able to get over that hump that you're in. Because at the end of the day, from what you said from the beginning, it's you continuously moving forward that's going to help and get you to that success, to that goal, to whatever it is that you're doing while you're enjoying the journey.
Right. A couple of things. I've witnessed it now twice. One, when my dad died, he had a windscreen business. He used to wrap tennis courts and pools and all that, and he was in Texas and ranches and all that. But my dad was my dad, to your point, right? When they did business with my dad, they got my dad. The challenge was, and I talk about this a lot when I'm talking to business owners. The problem was is that my dad was the business. And if you ever, it's an interesting thing when you start to get past being the work doer and right where your mind goes, all right, it's not what I do, it's what gets done. Two very different thoughts. And when you start to focus on working on the business versus working in the business, you see things very differently. And so a couple of things that came up while you were speaking. Number one, you hear, oh, well, it's nothing personal, it's just business. That's bullshit. Sorry, excuse my language. But you're then doing that for selfish reasons, whether it's to make money, whatever it is. And that's why I talk about the 7 F's, because they all intertwine, right? Who you are in one area, like I have a saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? Like the person people meet in the grocery store shouldn't be a different person than they were on the phone with conducting business. If it is, something's off, and relationships are not going to be in alignment. You know what I mean? Like you can make a lot of money, and if your goal is to just make money, you may make a lot of money, but fulfilled, I don't know about that, because there's something lacking underneath that, right? But when my dad died, the business was him. And so there was no value, or very little value. The value was the book of the clients and the equipment. But anybody who was buying that, like if you really want to know the value of your business, take you out of it.
Yes.
right? Because if somebody's going to buy a business, or a business is an asset, and it should be sold, it should be put in a position where it's either going to take care of you later in some form or fashion. You're going to sell it, or you're going to, in my business, you can like work out a deal where it continues to pay, but it is an asset. But it's not an asset if it can't run without you. Really, you're just self-employed. I don't know why I'm getting on this topic, but I think it's just so when he died, very little value. And then when in my financial business, we were asked to take over, a man died, and we took over his business. And again, it was the same thing. It was so personality driven, so individual driven, that it was actually a detriment to the clients and to us running it, because so much of that had to be reworked, because it was an ego trip in a lot of ways. I don't know if it was a conscious thing or not, but I implore business owners to build systems, right? Like, your business lives and dies on the systems that are in place, because when adversity strikes, and it will, the systems and the habits are the things that get you through that, right? Like, so you can automate a lot of that stuff. But if you're not setting that up, if it's just individualized and your goal is, well, I'm just going to make as much money as I can, or I'm going to go to work and run my business, you're self-employed. And any crisis could take you out like that if you don't have it built properly.
It's funny. I always tell people, do you have a business or do you have a glorified job?
Right.
Right. Because that is what it is. And look, there's nothing wrong with having a glorified job that you call a business, as long as you understand and
Right.
that is your goal, right? If that's what you want and you want to just work and make money, and then when you're done, the business is done, fine, go
You
for it.
just better save, make sure you have saved along the way.
Yes, it's not a matter of the right way or wrong way to do anything. It's whatever works for you. It's a matter of being aware of what it is that you're building, what it is that you're doing, and having a plan to be able to take care of yourself,
Right.
right? Or your loved ones, or however it is that you're wanting to do it. But like you said, the trap that most people fall into is that they think they're building a business, but then they don't have any systems. It's all dependent on them. Attorneys are notorious for this, right? Because everything is dependent on the business owner. There are no systems and processes. If the business owner isn't working, they're not making any money, right? So that's not a business. That is a glorified job. You want that? Go for it. But understand that that's what you have. If
Right.
you want to build a business that's going to continue to take care of you, that you can sell, that you can maybe have your kids take over, whatever it might be, then you have to have those systems in place. You have to have standard operating procedures. You have to be able to take you out of the business and have it continue to make money, right? And all of that still boils down to relationships,
Right.
right? Building the right relationships that are going to help grow that business the way you envision it, the way you want it. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you. And I think you brought that up because we are talking about how can business owners be successful. And the biggest thing is having those processes and procedures, being able to take yourself out of the business and have it continue to grow and have it continue to make you money, and service people and serve
Yeah.
others.
There's a classic book that, in my opinion, every business owner needs to read, and that's The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, because he talks about that very thing. That was the first time I was exposed to it, going, oh my gosh, I built it wrong. If I don't show up, nothing happens. And then you just get your brain to start to see things very differently. And, it starts with the vision first, and then you start to fill in. But that's a great book.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I love that book. And it is true. It starts with the vision first and then you fill it in. Um, you know, figuring out from the beginning what are the different employees that you have. Yes, you might be the CEO and the COO and the CFO and the receptionist and the bookkeeper, right? But those are five different employees,
Right.
right? And so if you can bifurcate them and if you can create a list of these are the employees that are going to be in my company, it's much easier to then start hiring those different people instead of going, well, I do everything. I don't know who to hire. I don't know where to go next. I don't know how to take, which tasks I can give to someone else. Well, if you know what employees you're going to have, then you can put the tasks into the employees and then you can better figure out what hat you're wearing depending on the task that you're doing.
And that's such a key point, right? Because again, learning how to love the life you're living. So let's say that taxes are due, right?
Mm.
And you now are in treasurer role, right? I think, again, fundamentals. I think every human being would do themselves a great service if whatever time their day typically starts, they get up an hour to a half hour earlier to just have quiet time to pray, meditate, whatever, to journal, and then to pull out your calendar. Typically, you should do that the night before and plan the day. And so if you know that Tuesday you've got to get the taxes done or whatever, then you're in the role of treasurer. And friction comes because you're in the role of treasurer, but you didn't plan the day to be the treasurer, and you're still in sales and the phone rings, or you're in customer service and the phone rings, and or you get an email and you're now seven roles in one day, frustrated because nothing really got done because you didn't say today I'm working on the business, not in the business, in this role.
That's my next question was going to be if you could give business owners advice as to how they can run their business successfully and be happy with it and not get so overwhelmed, what would that be?
Plan the day.
But right, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Plan the day. And have those. Again, I'm a product of reading and listening. It's a great book called Boundaries. Know how to set boundaries. You know how to say, hey, right now, right, I'm in this mode and I'm not answering the phone. I'm not answering emails, or hey, it's important. I will get to you. Like, here, your emergency is not mine. And we're kind and we want to serve people, and I need this then, and I have to. I'm guilty of it. My anxiety goes up or stress goes up. I got to get this done for them because I want to make them happy. But no, no, no. People respect boundaries. I appreciate that. I understand right? But I also have this, and this. I promise you I will get back to you. But right now I've got to do, or this is where I'm at. And people do respect that. What that says is I'm in control.
It does. And, people always say, you can't pour out of an empty cup. And
Right.
it's very true. And it has to do with your business as well. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of your business, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. Right. It might work for now, but eventually you're going to drain enough to where you're not going to be any good for anybody else. So the most selfless act that you can do is set the boundaries and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your business first so that you can serve other people.
Right.
It's not a selfish act to set boundaries. It's actually selfless. And one other thing I always say is don't you owe it to your clients, to your family, to your friends to be the best version of yourself for them? Right. And you can't be the best version of yourself without taking care of yourself.
Right. And I don't ever tell, want people to, John's got his act together and all that. Every lesson that I've learned came from adversity. I imploded at 49 because none of these things were in place. You hear midlife crisis and all that. I went through that. And these are the things and the lessons that came out. Like it is a selfless act to take care of yourself because you are the most important person. Like we tend to pass that off as selfish. No, no, no. You are the most important person in your life.
Yes.
Because if you don't have you together, you can't give what you don't have. You can't, how are you going to be about others if you're not about yourself? Right?
Yes.
You can't give kindness unless you give kindness to yourself. You can't give grace unless you give yourself grace. You can't give love unless you love yourself. So it makes sense maybe to spend some time doing that because you only ever give what's inside yourself.
That 100%. And I think on that note, I'm gonna end this because I want everybody listening to this to really take that to heart and think about this, because we always say yes, 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 I understand, I will. And then we don't, because we keep putting ourselves on the back burner because we're here to serve, we're here to make other people happy. Um, and again, you cannot do that if you're not taking care of yourself first.
Right.
Right. And so, John, thank you so much for being here today. This
Thank you.
has been a fantastic, business nuggets, personal life learning lessons. I know I've taken a lot out of this just listening to you, and I want to thank you for being here again today.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Now, how can people get a hold of you? And this information will also be in the chat, so don't worry if you missed it, but please tell us what's the best way for someone to be able to get a hold of you and work with you or
Uh,
refer people.
yeah, I would follow me on Instagram at jpuritz. There's also at Man Up Already Coaching, either one. You can reach me at john@manupalready.com. Those are probably the best ways. Yeah.
Okay. And again, it will be at the end of this episode and in the chat. And I hope you all tune in for our next episode. So have a blessed day.
Thank you.